What's a small act of kindness you were once shown that you'll never forget? I was 9 years old, waiting for the school bus in Wisconsin winter. I had a thin coat, no hat or gloves. A woman driving past saw me and stopped, giving me a blanket from the back of her car. It was a long skinny one, so she wrapped it around my head and shoulders like a big scarf. I remember thanking her, but being confused. I told her I didn't know how I would give it back when I was done borrowing it. She hugged me and said not to worry, I still have that blanket. So once in high school, I ate at a Mexican restaurant and unknowingly threw away my car keys on my tray. When I was done eating, I went and asked a worker if he had cleared them off the table, and he said no, but that he had just taken the trash out to the dumpster. I remember going outside and calling my dad to ask if there was a spare, and he told me no. So I went back inside feeling humiliated and about to ask if I could look through the dumpster, only to see that this man had already dug through the dumpster on my behalf and ended up finding my keys for me. He just went above and beyond, and to this day I'm so grateful for his help. I missed my train to go home for Christmas from university due to a crash near the station. I was completely broke and knew I wouldn't be able to afford another ticket. Life just got on top of me, knowing I'd have to spend Christmas alone in my shitty student house and not being about to see my granddad, who was in rapidly declining health. I was bawling my eyes out on the platform when a janitor appeared out of a hidden stock room under a stairwell and brought me some tissues. He found out why I was so upset and said leave it to me. Took me to the customer service desk and got them to reissue me a ticket for the next train home. I was so thankful I started bawling again, and he went on his way. Then just before I was about to get my train, he found me on the platform and gave me some snacks and a can of Coke, and it's just the nicest thing anyone's ever done for me. Alternator died while I was driving home from university. Engine died as I exited the freeway in the middle of the night in a not so pleasant part of town in the days before cell phones. As I'm pushing my car out of the intersection, a guy in a truck comes up and offers to push my car to my neighborhood, a good 3 miles away. He does so, and I'm pulling into my neighborhood. He simply gives a wave and drives off into the night. I never even had a chance to thank him. I broke my foot and was trying to limp my way across campus with crutches in the pouring rain. Someone ran over with their umbrella and walked across campus with me so I wouldn't get rained on. I was in New York City taking a lunch break at a job I absolutely hated. I was sitting eating alone at a McDonald's, and after about 15 minutes this man in his 40s or 50s, I'm a 28 years old male at the time, goes up to me and says something like, "Hey man, you look really sad. Things will get better," and just shook my hand. Takes a lot for one adult man to offer that up to another strange man. Really cheered me up. I was around 19 years old in my first year of community college. My dad had lost his job and my mom was supporting my entire family. We were struggling for a while. I remember being in my night class one day starving. I figured there'd be no dinner, so I told myself I'll go straight to bed when I get home and not think about being hungry. When I got home after class, there was a giant box of Costco pizza on the kitchen counter. Apparently one of our neighbors had bought it for us because my dad fixed a part of her fence a few months back. I think it stuck with me because A, I was so fucking hungry, and B, the chances of her bringing food that night of all nights was insane to me. It might sound so stupid, but I'll never forget it. I literally coasted into a gas station out of gas on my motorcycle, then realized I didn't have my wallet. Some lady saw me patting all my pockets and that I was upset and offered to fill up my tank. I only let her put $5 in, which on a bike is a lot, but it meant so much to me. After my dad passed away, my depression kicked into overdrive. I went to the doctor and got a prescription for antidepressants. While I was picking up my prescription, I started crying. When I apologized to the pharmacist for crying like a child, the pharmacist said, "You don't have to apologize. You recognize you have a problem and you are trying to fix it. That is a brave thing." It changed my perspective on treating my mental illness. I took my sister who's in a wheelchair to the cinema for the first time on my own. At the end, I realized I couldn't undo the brakes and was blocking everyone. I felt like crying because I thought everyone was pissed at me, but some nice lady helped me, then took me and my sister out. She said she once had a son who needed a wheelchair. This was long ago, but I'll never forget. Last year my son and I went to Lowe's to buy his grandpa a weed eater and a certain attachment that goes with it. Grandpa is a little older and slower than he used to be, but he does a lot for us, so we wanted to spend a little money to help make his life a little easier. As we get there, there's only one of the attachments left that we wanted. Well, there was a guy there getting it down for another customer. My son looked devastated. He knew how much his grandpa had been wanting this stuff and we were going to surprise him with it. My son looked at me and quietly said, "That's the last one. What are we going to do for Pa now?" Well, the guy overheard and saw the look on my son's face, so he casually handed it to me and said, "I think Pa needs this more than I do. I'll just get an IOU from the store." It was such a small moment for this guy, but it's one of those things that you witness that will literally help shape my son and his view of the world. After that, the saying, "It takes a village," didn't mean what I thought it meant every time I'd heard it before. Instead, it just made me realize that society, as a whole, is impacting all these young people in so many ways, and most of them don't even know it. The time my car broke down in the middle of the night and my phone died, and I didn't know what to do. A random stranger pulled over and told me, "We all need a little help sometimes," and I'll never forget her words as she helped me jumpstart my car. Neighbors asked to borrow my truck. Told them I could not trust my truck because the tires were bad. Next day Mr. Neighbor called and said he was getting new tires for his Suburban and I could get his old ones. Told me to just show up at this certain tire shop and they would put them on. I get to tire shop and they put on brand new Goodyear tires. I asked what happened to the old tires I was supposed to receive. Shop owner said the old tires was just a story to get me in the shop. Mr. Neighbor bought me a full set of new tires instead of the old tires he said I could have. I transferred in the middle of first grade to a school that did ice cream Fridays where you'd pay like 50 or 75 cents for whatever kind, and then you'd watch an educational video in the classroom. I was unaware of this when the first Friday rolled around, so I didn't have any change and neither did the kid next to me. Normally there would be a few who didn't get ice cream, but this day we were the only two. So the teacher called the both of us aside and gave us each the change required to have our ice cream. I think the biggest thing was that she didn't do it in front of the other kids, so it looked like we had brought the money all along. It was incredibly kind of her. She was a wonderful teacher outside of that as well. At work I was complaining about heartburn once. I was still pretty new to the job, didn't really have any work friends, felt like an outsider. My life outside of work was pretty shit as well. The bartender on shift overheard me and ran to a nearby coffee shop to get me a chocolate milk. It definitely made the heartburn go away, but it was such a needlessly kind act. I don't think I will ever forget it. 2 years later we are still friends, and she is definitely one of the kindest people I've ever met. As a boy, I developed rheumatic fever and had to stay home for months to work through it and recover. When the lady next door found out how sick I was, she made a big pot of homemade chicken soup. It was delicious and full of healthy fresh ingredients. To this day, Mom believes that it was this woman's kindness and love she put into her soup making that helped me recover faster. I was out of a job at a time that I had to support my mother. Finally landed one, but I had to walk back and forth, and I didn't have any shoes that would hold up on the walk or the work. Went to Facebook and Mom asked around for some hand-me-downs we could buy from someone. A day later a very kind man showed up with a brand new pair of really nice shoes he had just gone out and bought for me. He left before I could even get any money for him. I cried. I recorded a homemade album with my garage band in high school and handed out a few CDs. A few weeks later my English teacher approached me with 5 pages of notes on what he liked and what I could improve on. He apparently got the CD from someone at the high school and listened to it all the way through. It was over an hour long. He didn't know I was the singer and guitar player until he asked the person who gave him the CD. He said that if I ever got a shot in a studio, I would create something amazing. Thank you to all the teachers out there who believe in their students. It makes all the difference to some of us. When I was 10 years playing Little League, when the team won a game, everyone would go to the dairy barn for an ice cream cone to celebrate. Had an artsy coach one year who determined that if you didn't play in the game, you didn't get an ice cream. I didn't play one game that we won. I wasn't very good anyway, but still I went to the dairy barn just to hang with my friends. Others usually went home. The lady server asked me what I wanted, and I told her that I couldn't have one because I didn't play in the game. She gave me a funny look and went on to the next customer. Later, as we were sitting at the outdoor picnic tables, this same lady came out and gave me a huge ice cream cone. "You're still a winner," she said and walked away. I still choke up a little when I think about it. Thanks for watching the video. For more content like this, please subscribe, like, and share the video and push the notification button.